President Joe Biden. What have you done? Goodness gracious. You're watching BS Represents The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on Roku TV and BS3TVLive.com, also on the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. And you're listening to it live on Real Wise Radio Network. And it starts right now. Well, good morning, Shifter. It is Friday. Thank God it's Friday, July the 12th, 2024, and welcome to BS3 Presents The Morning Shift for Cole Johnson. I am Cole Johnson. And for the next 60 minutes, sit back and relax as we get you and keep you informed, enlightened, educated, engaged, and spiritually fed. And along with that press conference yesterday, more of that press conference from yesterday as well. And enlighten the way, we're going to touch on testing, like the testing of your faith. That is what's on tap for later on today, later on in this program. But however, right now we are going to start you up. And here's what's going on in the world today. The Republican running mate speculation has hit fever pitch level yesterday with news that Donald Trump Jr. will address in next week's convention right before his father's vice presidential nominee. Well, the younger Trump, though, is a big supporter of Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Two people familiar with the Republican National Convention schedule said Trump Jr. has been scheduled to speak on Wednesday for weeks, and that it's not necessarily a sign of favoritism toward Vance's candidacy. Vance is one of the finalists for the job, along with Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Senator from South Carolina Tim Scott, and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Trump has not made a VP announcement as of yet, but has signaled he plans to do so surrounding the RNC's beginning in Milwaukee, and that takes place on Monday. Oh boy. Goodness gracious. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, on Thursday, he called a discussion of him as a potential vice presidential candidate himself and, quote, out of body moment, close quote, but still will not acknowledge interest in joining the ticket along with the presumptive Republican nominee. He goes on to say, quote, there's an enormous amount of talent in the Republican Party. Whoever the Republican Party chooses, the president chooses to be his running mate, will be better than our current vice president. Close quote. Asked directly about his chances of joining the ticket, he actually said this too, quote, I love my job. I love what we're doing in Virginia. I wake up every morning with a spring in my step, and I go to work knowing Virginia is absolutely on a roll, and it's exciting to see it happen. Close quote. Professional, Cole, professional. There we go. New York Times editorial board called on voters to reject Donald Trump's reelection bid, alleging the former president is, quote, unfit to lead, close quote, to a second term. The publication went on to say, quote, Mr. Trump has shown a character unworthy of the responsibilities of the presidency. He has demonstrated an utter lack of respect for the Constitution, the rule of law, and the American people, close quote. The Times editorial board which is made up of opinion journalists, in the same piece yesterday also said, quote, instead of a cogent vision for the country's future, Mr. Trump is animated by a thirst for political power, to use the levers of government to advance his interests, satisfy his impulses, and exact retribution against those who he thinks has wronged him. Close quote. And we're supposed to not influence people in the media. I'm sorry. Calls have increased for President Joe Biden to take a cognitive test, proving his acumen in the wake of plaguing debate performances and press conferences. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, a co-chair of Biden's reelection campaign, did not shut down his suggestion, saying, quote, I don't think it would hurt, close quote. And she told this to CNN on Wednesday. Now, she continued to say that while the debate 2 weeks ago was, quote, not a great success for President Biden, close quote, she argued he is still the right person for the top job, saying, quote, he shows up every day and fights for the American public. He cares about other people more than he cares about himself, close quote. Woosa, woosa. Stick to the facts, Cole. Stick to the facts. Stick to the facts. Goodness gracious, this is getting harder and harder to just simply go straight, but I got to. A 54-year-old California man has been arrested on murder charges in the fatal shooting of his wife, his 6-year-old son, and his in-laws. He was arrested Wednesday night in the domestic shooting at his home in Alameda, and that is in the San Francisco, Oakland Bay area. Police say his 1-year-old son was also shot and was in critical condition at a local hospital. Jail records showed that 54-year-old man is being held without bail on charges of first-degree murder, assault with a firearm, and child abuse. His arraignment is set for today. No attorney is listed for him in court documents and court records. In the latest cybersecurity scare, a file with nearly 10 billion, not million, but billion passwords has been posted to a hacking site. Researchers at Cyber News said that they discovered the file posted on Independence Day with 9,948,575,739 unique plain text passwords. Cyber News experts said that they believe this data dump, called RockU 2024, is the largest password leak of all time, saying, quote, the Cyber News team believes that attackers can utilize the 10 billion strong RockU 2024 compilation to target any system that isn't protected against brute force attacks. This includes everything from online and offline services to internet-facing cameras and industrial hardware. Close quote. Goodness gracious. And just when we think that people are devoid of all sorts of thoughts and processes, never mind. Goodness gracious. The two-time Emmy nominee, Emmy nominee, who largely retreated from Hollywood in the late 1990s, unfortunately died yesterday at her home in Blanco, Texas. And she died of complications from diabetes. And her partner, Jan Gilroy, confirmed the news to the Associated Press and multiple news outlets, including The Hollywood Reporter and Variety, saying that she died in her sleep. And that actress is Shelley Duvall. He went on to say, quote, my dear, sweet, wonderful life partner and friend left us. Too much suffering lately. Now she's free. Fly away, Shelley. Fly away. Close quote. Shelley Duvall, the actress best known for Stanley Kubrick's The Shining and numerous Robert Altman films, is dead at the age of 75. 2019 was the start of Hot Girl Summer, and it was coined, of course, by Megan Thee Stallion in her hit single of the same title. 5 years later, we've entered the era of Boy Sober Summer. Single women have hopped on a new trend of abstaining from any romantic or sexual relationships with men, including dating and casual hookups. Therapists say the emergence of the Boy Sober movement is indicative of a greater trend of young women taking a step back from sex and relationships and puts a new spin on voluntary celibacy. Wow. It's a perfect time to actually go here. The following sports date is brought to you by the Playmakers Blog Network. My former in the NFL, former NFL defense coordinator Monty Kiffin, the late father of the late father of Lane, unfortunately died peacefully in his sleep. He died at the age of 84. The Tennessee Titans, has signed safety Jamal Adams to a contract. He has bounced around from the Jets to the Seahawks and many other places before settling there. In WNBA action, Angel Reese continues her double-double streak. Now she's at 15 consecutive. Unfortunately, though, the Sky took it to the chin, losing to the New York Liberty. I know that makes Playmaker happy. And on Wimbledon, a thrilling 3-set match between Donna Vikek and Jasmine Paolini went to a 3rd-set tiebreaker, and Paolini defeated her 7-6 in the 3rd set, and she goes on to face Barbora Krejcikova, and she upset the 4th-seeded Elena Rybakina in 3 sets as well. And the finals will be Krejcikova versus Paolini Saturday morning. I think first serve is around 9:15 Eastern in the morning. Well, hope everything is good with them. On the men's side, Dani Medvedev goes against 3rd seed Carlos Alcaraz, and Lorenzo Musetti will face off against the number 2 ranked Novak Djokovic. Of course, the men's final will take place on Sunday. Turning our attention to weather. As powered by the channel, we are seeing bright skies and a high of 83 in Seattle. Nothing but sunny skies. Mostly sunny and 87 in Minneapolis. It's sunny, or will be sunny, with a high of 84 in Chicago. Be partly cloudy skies in 87 in St. Louis. It will be partly cloudy skies and a high of 83 in Detroit. Over on the East Coast, it'll be rainy, with the high of 87 in the city that Wise and Heavy hates the most. It'll be thunderstorms and a high of 81 in New York. It will be rain and a high of 79 in the nation's capital. Down south, it will be rain again and a high of 86 in Miami. It'll be partly cloudy skies, mostly sunny skies, a high of 94 in Atlanta. Partly cloudy skies, a high of 93 in Memphis. Thunderstorms and a high of 90 in New Orleans. That barrel, I think, it sort of licked them a little as well. Over in the southwest, it will be mostly sunny with a little bit of thunderstorm action with a high of 89 in San Antonio. Bright and sunny and hot with a high of 98 in Dallas. A sun thunderstorm mix with a high of 84 in Houston. Man, they just can't stay away from that wet stuff. Over in the Rockies, it will be mostly sunny skies and 103 in Denver. It sounds really strange that the Rockies will have 100-degree temperatures, but we are. The hot spot of the country will be in the desert, 116 and sunny in Phoenix. It will be mostly sunny and 115 in Las Vegas. And over on the West Coast, it will be mostly cloudy skies with a high of 81 in Los Angeles. It will be mostly sunny skies with a high of 70 in the Bay Area. And that is your look on weather for today. And now you have been properly started up. Coming up next, we will touch on that NATO introduction and press conference that Joe Biden unveiled for us all. Later, we will touch on the test of faith. Speaking of times of such of a now, how can things of this nature test us? And coming up later, well, a surprise. You are watching BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on YouTube, and that's the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson's YouTube channel. You're also catching it live on BS3TVLive.com and on Roku TV with the BS3 app. And you're listening to it live on Real Wise Radio. And we'll be right back right after this.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Bruce Bernstein.
NBA people are the best people ever. Everything that I've ever wanted to do was always sort of pointed towards the NBA.
Daniel Jones, I don't listen, I wasn't sold on him in the beginning either.
Ben Sutter and
Dan Quinn. Like, he may not be the greatest head coach, but one thing we do know is that he can coach defenses.
Mirren Fader.
If I did a biography on Hakeem Olajuwon, this is the first true international superstar.
Looking for the up-to-date information in the world of sports? The Real Deal with Courtney Harden. Live every Saturday at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. Life.
Scratching and clawing to overcome adversities in life.
Family.
That's what I love about our children. God instilled that in us, and thank God they carry on that torch.
Marriage.
We struggled in different ways, naturally, as husband and wife.
And God.
The Lord is on my side. I will not fear what man can do unto me.
Join the husband and wife team of Ben Southern Jr. and Irene Southern as they give you the full scope of life. BS3 Network proudly presents the Suds Are Us podcast, live every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central.
Welcome back to the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. We are live on BS3TVLive.com. We're also live on Roku TV via BS3. We're live on the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. And we're also live on Realize Radio Network if you're listening to us. And oh, by the way, yes, if you want to be part of Shift Nation, all you have to do is get here live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central every weekday on the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel, and you can be part of BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. I love to hear from shifters because it is you that makes this program tick, and I'm so glad it is you which makes this program tick. To Shift Nation we go, and we start with the playmaker, or Darnell Solins, and he says, "Good morning, Shift Nation. Long night last night, but I'm alive." Well, I'm glad that you are, sir. And for those who don't know, you know him by Playmaker, but catch him every Monday, Monarchs of Wrestling, every Wednesday, sometimes every Friday with Shooting Lights Out, probably every Wednesday and Friday because he's doing WNBA and men's and women's Olympic team as well, coverage. And sometime probably later on in this month and definitely in August, you will see Bearing Down the Gridiron and Ramley talk from him. Busy man he is. Ryan McCarthy, No Credentials Required fame. Of course, you catch him every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on No Creds REQ YouTube channel. Oh, yes, you can catch Playmaker on his material on the Playmaker's blog, and that's with a Z Network YouTube channel. Ryan McCarthy, he says, good morning, fellow shifters. Good morning to you, sir. Snowman Multimedia, or Snowman, what is up, my brother? He says, good morning, Shift Nation. Snowman checking in from Indianapolis, Indiana, with possibly the final wound care week coming. Well, you take care of yourself. That won't be a possibly. That'll be a definite. But prayers are with you. You have done it well thus far. Continue the journey, my friend. You are at the finish line. Now it's time for you to do cartwheels and just show the people that, yes, you can recover from a death sentence to a life sentence. And I'm not talking about life sentence in jail. I'm talking about life sentence in having a second life, a second chance at life. Ryan McCarthy says, picking Rubio, talking Donald Trump, selecting vice presidential candidates, which he will do so next week at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. He says, picking Rubio or Marco Rubio would be tricky. The senator from Florida. He says a president and a vice president can't be on the same ticket from the same state. And I think that's why Rubio will not get picked, because of that. And I think also, if he were to have had the option of choosing a vice presidential candidate, the stronger choice, although I would probably say you might lose the ticket, though, would be Ron DeSantis. Because to me, Rubio is not the strongest Floridian politician. But stranger things have happened. And heck, I mean, you might have Trump, who can't vote for himself in Florida because felons can't vote in Florida, but they can in New York. Well, Ryan, you might have Trump call your state home once again. And then he teases me by saying, resist the urge, Cole. Resist the urge. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. Oh, man. Cool McCain, the hardest content creator that I know. He says, Shift Nation, it's a fantastic Friday. You doggone right, it's a fantastic Friday. Also, you want to catch him. He tag teams with, and I do really mean tag team, with Playmaker on Monarchs of Wrestling every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. He, of course, leads a crew with Eagles Elite. That's on Eagles Elite Podcast YouTube channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. And that's also during the offseason, too, because it talks about the Philadelphia Eagles. And Play Caller Sports Talk. He has a tag team effort there. He actually is the moderator of that show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern every Friday. So tonight, 7:30 p.m., catch my brother do his thing. And Playmaker's like, it's Friday. Go for it, Cole. I think you will actually like the fact that I am going to actually do such a thing, sir. So I appreciate that. And yes, I think I am, to the point that I had something scheduled, but I chucked it aside because, well, it is time for me to talk about this issue in a way that I think will not be flattering, but it's necessary. But before I do, let's focus on what happened last night or yesterday evening in today's cover story. So if you all were under a rock, President Joe Biden, he was having a big boy press conference, and that was actually stated by his cabinet and his advisors and handlers, that he was proving to the wall that without teleprompters, without prodding, and without any necessary script to read, that with the press corps right in front of him and some audience members, During the NATO press conference and his own press conference, he was going to prove that he was the man, and that what you saw 2 weeks ago at the debate, well, mere bag of shells. I just had a off night. I had a cold, and woosah, it's all gone. Vamoose, it disappeared. And the guy that you voted in 4 years ago, he's back with feminine vigor, virile, and strong to lead. Well, with that being said, as President Joe Biden, as he himself faces vast concerns about his age and reelection campaign, it's not necessarily age, it's just mental acuity. He didn't immediately settle questions among his fellow Democrats during his first press conference since a disastrous debate against his former and current rival, former President Donald Trump, two Thursdays ago. But the president addressed his capability to seek a second term and told reporters and Americans across the country, quote, "If I slow down and I can't get the job done, that's a sign I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None." Close quote. He also said he's staying in the 2024 race, but acknowledged that it's important to try to, quote, allay fears, close quote, among voters. Still, the president made several flubs Thursday evening, including referring to Vice President Kamala Harris, when asked about a question about her as, quote, Vice President Trump, close quote. The press conference took place on the closing day of a NATO summit Biden is hosting in D.C., and the president additionally fielded questions about America's role on the world stage. Earlier in the week, Biden seemed to coalesce to the vast majority of Democratic members of Congress around his embattled reelection bid, since he struggled to finish sentences and complete thoughts during that June 27th debate. But new Biden detractors, sensing that time is running out and if the party wants to change at the top of the ticket, continue to emerge. More than a dozen, now the count is up to 17, House Democrats have called on Biden to leave the race altogether. And scrutiny over the president's gaffes didn't stop on Thursday with Kamala Harris. Biden, I'm actually going to save that gem for another time. Well, you have other Democrats now in a tough reelection race is begging Biden to leave. Congressman Eric Sorensen of Illinois, a vulnerable House Democrat facing tough reelection races, well, he joined the growing choir of Democratic lawmakers calling on Biden to step down after his press conference yesterday, saying, quote, "In 2020, Joe Biden ran for president with the purpose of putting country over party. Well, today I'm asking him to do that again. And today I'm hopeful that President Biden will step aside in his campaign for president," close quote. And then you have Congressman Scott Peters of California. He is the second lawmaker to call for Biden to lead the presidential race shortly after that high-stakes NATO press conference concluded. Democrats were on track to lose even going into the debate last month, the lawmaker wrote in a statement announcing the decision, and the showdown between Trump and Biden, quote, "raised real concern," close quote, among voters. He went on to say, quote, "This was not a blip. Today, I asked President Biden to withdraw from the presidential campaign. The stakes are high and we are on a losing course. My conscience requires me to speak up and put loyalty to the country and to democracy ahead of my great affection for and loyalty to the president and those around him," close quote. He also called for a fair and transparent process to find a new nominee, which could win in swing states. The San Diego area member of Congress is the 16th, and actually, he is the 16th. That congressman from Connecticut ended up being 17th later on last night to publicly urge Biden to step aside. And that 17th member is top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Jim Himes. The Connecticut congressman came out with a statement saying that Biden should withdraw immediately after that press conference. Quote, President Joe Biden is a remarkable leader of unparalleled public service, undeniable achievement, and unconditional patriotism. It is because of those traits and in consideration of that legacy that I hope President Biden will step away from the presidential campaign, close quote. Himes, of course, is another of several Democratic committee leaders who participated in that call earlier this week with House Democrat leadership. And on that call, Himes, along with a handful of other lawmakers, expressed concerns about Biden's reelection campaign, but did not go so far as to say he should step aside. And there's so many other things that I could just simply go on and on about this guy about. But the thing is, the number is now 17. It's going to rise even further very soon, very fast. And if he does not make the right move, we're going to have something that we do not want, which is government not being responsible to the people, no matter who is in Washington. And that is today's cover story. I know it's a bit early, but it had to be done. Coming up next, even more from that NATO press conference and that big boy press conference to follow. Oh boy. And I'm going to enjoy this, I think. You are watching BS Street presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on BS Street Morning Shift, Cole Johnson's YouTube channel, and BS3TVLive.com. Also, you're watching on Roku TV as well. And you are listening to it on Real Wise Radio Network. We'll be right back right after this.
Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure. Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze car.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can beat up black people.
As he takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, No, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel.
What's up, everybody? This is Information Man and the Information Man Show. Now, what I do is hard, cutting-edge analysis, assessment of what's happening in our world today, whether it be news, politics, current events, cultural issues, social issues. Commentary is what I do over here. Most of all is what we try to do here on the Information Man Show is try to get to a solution to the problems that we see today.
Well, welcome back to the morning shift with Cole Johnson. We are live on Roku TV via BS3. We are live on BS3TVLive.com. We're live on the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel. We're also live. If you can't see us, you can hear us on Rewire's Radio Network. And back to Shift Nation we go. Cool McCain, he says, I love audibles. I think you'll appreciate this one I'm going to put forth, sir. Darnell Solins, a.k.a. Playmaker, says, why, Sleepy Joe? Why? Ryan McCarthy, Ryan, he says, after the VP Trump gaffe, the memes on social media were ruthless. Oh, gosh. Some of them were just yikes. Laugh out loud. You want to know one of those memes? Picture Kamala's face, the vice president's face, on the pompadour of one Donald Trump. That one I saw last night. I will admit I rolled laughing because I thought that, well, I still think it's funny. Oh my gosh. Woo, Lord have mercy. Victor Locke, or V like A3, or Vicola says, look, it's because it's Joe Biden. He's got the same dementia Jerrall has. Jerrall meaning Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys. The owner, he's been the owner for the last 35 years, and it looks like he is showing no signs of relinquishing power there. Thing is, Jerrall is a little bit more with the brain. He may not be fast, but dude isn't just doing like what Playmaker has actually said. How do you call your vice president your opponent's name? With not one, not two, not three, not four, not 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, but 15 facepalm emojis. I'm proud of you for having that many, because it was a face-palming moment. Ryan went on to say, look, if I had a drink for every time Biden had to clear his throat during his stump speech, big boy press conference, and I still can't believe they actually leaked that name out and purposely called it that. I'd still be in a hospital with alcohol poisoning. No. If you took a shot every time that happened, we'd all be in the hospital, and we wouldn't have to touch it. We didn't have to touch it a drop. All of us would be in the hospital with alcohol poisoning, with all the times he had to pause or say anyway at the end of every question that he answered. But as you can tell, I'm not how can I say this? I'm not feeling happy about what we are discovering and seeing with our president. And I am less satisfied with the fact that he feels the need to still be in the race. And why do I feel this way? It is difficult to watch somebody slip and slip and slip and slip further and further and further and descend to, I hate to say it this way, to the point where you basically have to say it is time for you to hang it up. And because of it, I just have to invoke this right now. It's time for me to do it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for me to introduce the debut segment of From the Desk of Cole Johnson. And shout out to my brother Cool McCain for coming up with the name. It's time for me to do it now. And if not now, when? Okay, here we go. Mr. President, here we are. We are 4 months from when you are going to be reelected. You have actually said, because you were aware of your age when you got elected, you were on the doorstep to your 78th birthday when you did get elected, and you were 78 when you took office. You actually claimed that this was going to be, quote, a transitional term, close quote. Now, considering this to be a transitional term, it was alleged that you picked Kamala Harris as your vice presidential candidate so that you could hand the reins over to her when it was her turn and time to take over because, well, you would not be cognizant enough and you wouldn't have the strong enough mental acumen to continue doing the job. But you got so hungry with that power. You've been affiliated with Washington since 1972, so you figured, hey, I think I can do this some more. But you claim that, well, the times are dangerous and the soul of our nation's on the line, and it is time for me to grab hold onto this. Well, you grabbed hold onto it. It's time to let go of the reins. Why? Well, here's just a few of the reasons why I actually will say it's time for you to let go of the reins. So you kick off the press conference yesterday, but you kicked the press Wednesday, I should say, by saying, quote, "Today Kiev still stands and NATO stands stronger than it's ever been." Close quote. Kiev is full of rubble. And for those who don't know, Kiev is a city in Ukraine, and they've been hammered by the Russian army ever since the spring of 2021. How could you say this and the city is full of rubble? Answer that question for me, please. Please answer that question for me. Goodness gracious. And yes, we already touched on the Vice President Trump thing. Goodness gracious. And then you go on to say that you wouldn't have picked your vice president, which you call Trump, unless you thought she was qualified to be president. Well, it's not the fact that you're not sure if she's qualified to be president. My question to you is, do you think Kamala Harris qualifies to be a person? Because in your brain, I would say the answer to that question is no. If you can't decipher a woman who is maybe 5'7" or 5'8" with heels and is black and Indian in descent, and a white 6'2" guy that's been an American all his life, if you can't decipher between those two, I'm not sure if I want you to run my government. And I don't care what level it is. It could be president. It could be governor. It could be mayor. It could be county chief. It could be sheriff. It could be any judge. I wouldn't want you to be in office where I know that my life is hinged upon you. Because you, sir, are a danger to our country. And quite frankly, you're a danger to our world. If you keep with this, you're going to hurt and harm so many people. So many. With your hubris, with your thought process that you think you have all the answers, but you don't. You don't, sir. I'm sorry. When you were asked whether you would be able to negotiate with Putin or Xi, the prime minister of China, in 3 years, if you're reelected another term, in 3 years would be technically not 2027, but 2028, really. He said, quote, "I'm ready to deal with them now and 3 years from now. There isn't any world leader I'm not prepared to deal with." Close quote. I am so glad you said that, sir. I am so glad you said that. You're ready to deal with any world leader now in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. And if you have to have something in January 2029, you can run and be at the helm of things and do this with any world leader. Okay. If that's the case, sir, then why is it? And this is why I find it so disturbing that you are in office now and you don't think, and you said it with your own words. You said it with your own words. Quote, if I slow down and I can't get the job done, that's a sign I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None. Close quote. And you provided signs that you should bow out. You're pursuing signs that you cannot get the job done because you can't get people's names right. There's no indication of that yet. There's been indications sprinkled all throughout ever since you've been in office. You had a mental acuity test last year and earlier this year. But if you slow down and can't get the job done, that's a sign you shouldn't be doing it. And in that same press conference, you call your running mate, Vice President Trump. So you say that if you show signs that you can't do this, that it's a sign for you to bow out, right? That you should just simply peace out, right? That you were a bridge candidate. These are your words. That you were a bridge candidate. Quote, what I realized was my long time in the Senate has equipped me to have the wisdom of how to deal with Congress to get things done. And we got to get more legislation passed that no one thought would happen. And I want to get that finished, close quote. And you stated that when you were told, well, yeah, you said you were a bridge candidate, but you feel as though now you have to finish a job that you started. And unfortunately, the job that you started was to undo a nation that, well, yeah, they had division, but financially they seem to be doing pretty good. Now we have a financial future that's a little bit uncertain, thanks to you. But again, you show no signs of slowing down, but you call your Vice President Trump in public. You claim that you aren't showing any signs of slowing down, but then, and then you say that you could talk with any world leader, right? Well, if that's the case, if you could do it now and 3 years from now, why is it that, to me, the most damaging thing that you said in that press conference was, quote, right now, I would like to introduce the president of Ukraine, a man who has as much courage as he does determination. I give to you President Putin. Close quote. You are unfit to do the job now. 2024, July 12th, you are unfit to do it now, and you're showing public signs that you can't do it. But you're showing hubris that you are not seeing it, and you're going to go further. Okay? All right. Well, then riddle me this, Mr. President. If that is the truth, if you don't think that you should simply quit, if you feel as though that you should stumble like, I don't know, like Bob Dole did 28 years ago when he was a Republican nominee going up against Bill Clinton and actually calling a team that plays in Los Angeles, the Brooklyn Dodgers, what makes anybody think that they would have the confidence that you can do the job? And I know there's some of us that are saying, well, hey, he's not Trump. Hey, he's 81, lighten up. Hey, he still has more work to do. Hey, he represents me. He doesn't know what he represents. And that is the problem. And until you know what you're representing, sir, you need to bow out. You need to submit yourself into a retirement home. And I'm not joking when I say this. And you need to rest on your laurels of having a 50-plus year career in Washington. Because your time of being an effective politician and an effective leader is long past over. Goodness gracious. Just leave, Biden. Leave. And that's from the desk of Cole Johnson. Coming up next, your testing of faith. How is that important in today's times? You're watching BS3 Presents the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on YouTube. That's BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson. You're watching it also on BS3TVLive.com and on Roku TV. And you're listening to it on Real Wise Radio. We'll be right back right after this.
Eric Butler, a.k.a.
The Intellect, a.k.a. Coloring. I'm the biggest diamond ever found on land, a.k.a. The Atlantic. Cold, deep, and choppy.
LaToya the Therapist, a.k.a.
Them kids' mama, a.k.a. Jeff's wife, a.k.a. LaToya the Therapist. I am a licensed professional counselor.
Beauty and Brains, clinical and principled, insightful and intelligent. BS3 Network proudly presents Perspective, live every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central. Are you looking for something to do on your lunch break? Well, there's a show on the BS3 Network that has only 4 words to say to you.
We ready, we ready, we ready for y'all. We ready, we ready, we ready for y'all.
The Lunch Break, powered by JM&E. Live weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
Welcome back to the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson on BS3 Morning Shift. Cole Johnson's YouTube channel on BS3TVLive.com, on Roku TV via BS3, and you're listening to it live also on the Real Wise Radio Network. And actually, in lieu of lighting the ways, testing the faith, that will be what we will discuss on Monday. I just feel compelled that I got to touch base with my shifters because Shift Nation, yesterday was just something. It was something not to be believed, but I just had to go through and just understand what I was watching, what I was hearing, and digest what I was seeing. And so the rest of the show, I'm going to actually touch on that and talk with the shifters because I really do feel as though we need to talk a little bit further about this. So, you know, So let me start with let me start with my brother Cool when he says it's a sad situation, man. But ABT Anybody but Trump. I don't vote for felons. Well, that's what you have. It's like, well, with one, you have a guy who's been convicted of 34 felons. And on the other, you have a guy that can't remember his name probably from one day to the next. And he's liable to call his wife another name in public. Heck, he already has called his vice president another name in public. Victor says, look, this is the equivalent of ref stoppage. And if you have any other comments, keep it on. If you have any questions directed to me about this, please bring them, Shift Nation. I'll be glad to answer it. And I'm not going to claim I have all the answers, but I'll answer as best of my ability. Or if you have any other comments, sprinkle them. Rain down with comments now, please. So Victor says, look, this is the equivalent of a ref stoppage. I agree. I mean, somebody on his cabinet, somebody on his advisory team should be throwing in the towel. And you know, I heard something that was really disturbing before I even got on air today. It's so bad in Washington. The last cabinet meeting that the president has had with his staff has been 9 months ago. He hasn't had a cabinet meeting with his staff all year. And the last time he's had it was October. But this is the guy that's supposed to lead us into a prosperous 4 years from now, right? Okay. And Playmaker says, oh boy, a new segment. Yes, a new segment. And you have your Monarchs of Wrestling partner to thank for that. The name of it. Because I was like, man, I just feel as though one of these days I'm going to have to come off the rip the way you just saw the last segment. I said, what should I title it? And Cool just came up with it like it was nothing. Bam. It probably was like maybe 2 minutes. It was like, yeah, you should call it that. I was like, all right, done. And speaking of Cool, he says, look, my main issue is how you don't figure this out before now, Democrats. Thank you. Thank you. He not dropping out, so y'all better try to sell Kamala Harris as the saving grace. That's what I've been feeling, man. I'm like, and my wife said this starting 2023, and when I mean 2023, I mean like January, because she was like, so who's going to be running? I know who probably is going to be running for the Republican Party. It's probably going to be Trump. But who's going to be running for the Democrats? I said, well, it's going to be Biden. Say, no way. Dude's going to be 81. The dude is misstepping now. Why would they want to back him? Well, because and I said this to her, normally incumbent presidents sort of get the courtesy of running, but he's not a good candidate. I know. And that was 18 months ago when she said this, and we had that conversation. You know, it's even worse now. Oh, and selling Kamala, and I love the fact you used the word sell. Guess who has a worse approval rating than Mr. Biden? That's right. That's right. Miss Chuck Taylor's and Miss Pearl Necklace. Yeah. And no, that is not a sick reference. It's not a vocal reference. She wears pearl necklaces because she's a member of the Kappa sorority, and that's what they wear. Cool says, but Cole, he's transitioning to his second term with one sweat emoji, 1, 2, 3, 4 crying, laughing emojis, and 5 crying, laughing, and rolling on the floor emojis. Perhaps, Cool continues, he doesn't even realize it's re-election time. No, he does. Get what he said last night too. This is his words. He said, quote, says it's not even time for campaigning yet. Normally that happens around September. Don't you think it's a little too early to talk about this stuff? Close quote. He said this last night. The dude simply has no clue. Victor says, let's be honest, this isn't even the worst follow-up with words he's ever had. It's not the worst follow-up because the worst I think one of the worst follow-ups he had was when he went I think he went to a construction site. And he cursed out a worker, cursed him out. It's not the worst follow-up, but it's the worst set of them because they're coming faster and more frequently now. And my man Playmaker with what I was saying, he says, "Oh, my brother, testify." Victor goes on to say he should have to go cut Kamala a switch for her to whoop him for that mistake. Yeah. Probably Jill no, I'm not gonna go there. This is not that program. Ryan says, look, some of us saw the fact that he was aging back in 2020, and we're told nothing to see here. Now they're concerned. Someone raised a good point and said, oh, wait a minute. So now he's old? 2 weeks ago. He was fine. He was fine 2 months ago, but he's old 2 weeks ago now, all of a sudden. And Vic says, what? Putin's not the president of Ukraine. No. And you know what makes it worse, Vic? Here's what makes it worse. President Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was standing to his left when he made that mistake. He says, look, Biden needs to pull a Ross Perot and quit. Oh, my. Yeah, Playmaker says, look, the bad part about all this is Trump is sitting back and laughing to victory. We are doomed. Well, I mean, what should he do? If he talks this, he would be talking down his candidacy, because the worse Biden does, or at least the more Biden talks, the better Trump looks. Victor says, look, Joe Biden is either going to be named the dolt of the week or effing moron of the year. Yeah, he might be. Cool says, look, the problem is you stuck behind Biden, talking about the Democrats. He may not even realize he's helping out his vice president, Kamala Trump. Shaking my doggone head. Eye roll emoji. Cool. 100 with all what you said, bro. That's how I've been all throughout this process. And I'm not talking about the last 2 weeks. I'm talking about the last 2 years. I'm like, you should have gotten a better candidate. And if you felt as though Harris isn't the woman for the job, get a better woman or man for the job then. No. He goes on to say, look, now Democrats are putting themselves in a worse situation by requesting him to drop out. Oh, and by the way, their convention, the Republican convention, is next week. You still have the Democratic convention in Chicago, which is in 5 weeks. So you have that to do. You have that to concern yourself with too. Y'all helping convict Trump destroying the country. Well, Trump don't have to do anything to destroy the country. All they have to do is just let Biden actually win, and the country will destroy itself. Just with a guy who's too old to function, and I mean too old in the brain, not too old in the body, to actually run it. Ryan McCarthy, and he gives a great last word. He says, for those who put their hope in who is the next president, which is temporary, and I agree, I encourage you to read Psalms 146, verses 3, 4, and 5. And I encourage you to do the same, because I 100% agree with him. 100% agree with him. This was fun. I got to do this again. That is all the time, unfortunately, I have for this episode. I thank you so much for you joining me on this excursion, because I love doing this for you. And for all of us here at the Morning Shift, I'm Cole Johnson, and also the BSV Network. I'll say this in parting, as I always do. If you lack commitment, you will never start. If you lack consistency, you will never finish. And if you lack love, I most certainly guarantee you will never, ever conquer. Until we do this again in 71 hours, Shifter, I love you. Continue to be the blessings you are. And I know that you're a blessing. Why? Because the way you are now, you're blessing me. And I hope I'm blessing you as well. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So long.